Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit more about compound interest. Interest sometimes, as we've seen before, is compounded every year annually, which the banks call annual percent rate, which is APR. You may have heard of APR. But other banks will say we don't use APR, we use APY to make it more enticing. APY is annual percentage yield. So that's if interest is compounded more than just once a year, maybe monthly, or weekly, or something other than just one time a year, quarterly. Okay, so here's a couple things that you'll need to know how to do. We'll start with just a basic example, kind of reviewing what we've done before. So try this one on your own, pause the video, see if you can get the answer. Keep in mind that these videos have a time limit, and that time limit needs to be met. In other words, if this video is 10 minutes long, I should see you viewing it for at least that much. But definitely longer, because you're going to want to try some of these problems on your own. Alright, so we want to know how much interest, simple interest, I saw simple interest there, so that means I'm going to use a simple interest formula. I'm just looking for the interest. So the interest equals principal times rate times time in years. So $2,000 would be my principal. The rate is going to be 0.05. That would be my rate. And then time in years would be 7 months. So 7 months is 7/12 of a year. So 12 months, and that would be your time. And you put those numbers in, and you'll get your answer. Okay, if you put these all in your calculator, you should get an answer of 58.3 repeating, or because we're talking about money, we'll go $58.33. Whenever you're talking about money on homework and on tests and quizzes, make sure you go to the nearest cent unless otherwise suggested, and make sure you put your units. Okay, so there's a simple interest formula again. Compound interest, as I said before, is computed on principal as you go. So it's not just every year, it's however quarterly, monthly. You've seen questions already where you've had to use a simple interest formula repeatedly. Maybe it was quarterly, so you had to do it 4 times. You find the interest, you add it to the principal, and it became the new principal, just as in the prior video. So this compound interest formula is going to help us a little bit more. Let's start with example 1 here, though. Read through this, pause it, try it on your own. There's nothing new in this. You're still using the simple interest formula. So continue to do that, and then resume when you're ready. Okay, so Jose here is going to put in a certain amount of money, 5% interest. It's going to be compounded quarterly, so that's 4 times a year. And you want to know what his ending balance will be after 1 year. Okay, so it's going to be done 4 times. So we're going to start by saying we'll use a simple interest formula. His principal is going to be P, which we don't know. His rate is going to be 0.05. And his time, because it's quarterly, is 1/4. Okay, so every 4th of a year. I'm trying to find where his interest is going to be. So this is going to look a little different because his principal is still a variable, and I still have I, the interest, as a variable. So interest, again, is the principal. In this case, it's that P, times his rate, which is going to be 0.05, times his time, which is 1/4, or 0.25. Okay, so I still have that variable p in there as well as the I. Now what's going to happen with this is his balance, so the balance after, let's say, the first month, so we'll do B1. Balance after the first month is going to be his principal that he started with, that P, whatever amount he starts with, plus, when you multiply this out, you get 0.05 over 4 times the principal he started with. So notice I have P in it twice. This right here is his interest. This right here is the principal he started with. So you take what he started with plus how much interest he earned, and that's his new balance for the first month. Okay? To make this math a little easier, we're going to use the distributive property, or we say factor. We'll take out the P, and we'll get 1 plus 0.05 over 4. So I've taken out that P, it's the distributive property, in reverse from what you normally see. Okay, so that's the first month. Now if I wanted to figure out what he made the second month, I'm going to take, I'll say B2 for his second month, or the second quarter. It's going to be my balance, my new balance, whatever I got for the first quarter, plus the interest. So the interest again is going to be taking 0.05, the rate doesn't change, the time is still quarterly, so times 1/4, which gave us this, times balance 1, which is his first quarter balance. So in other words, if I knew what amount I was putting in here, I could figure out how much I'd have at the end of the first quarter. I'd use that new amount here and do it all over again to get my second quarter. And I would do this a third time and then a fourth time. But to shorthand it, really what I'm doing is I'm taking this balance amount, this principal, and I'm just multiplying it by 1 plus 0.05 over 4, and I'm doing that however many times. So if I wanted to do, let's say, the third quarter, I'll take the principal, the original principal I started out, put it in this formula, and I just multiply that by this parentheses, this quantity 3 times, or that's the same thing as cubing it. So really what I'm doing is I'm taking the simple interest formula, and if I'm going to do it multiple times like you've had to in the past, and homework assignments prior to this, it got tedious. You had to keep doing this process over and over and over again. So that's where this compound interest formula comes in. Right, definitely add this to your notes. It's going to be very important. You're going to use this a lot. Banks use this a lot. Okay. Just some parts. So B is balance, P is principal again, R is still the rate, annual rate, N is the number of times each year is compounded. So in our previous example, it's compounded quarterly, so that's 4 times a year, so N was 4. And then T, notice we have an N up here too, but T is the number of years you're doing it. Okay? So here's your compound interest formula. Let's try an example of this. Make sure you pause this video. We're already coming up on 9 or 10 minutes in this video, so you should have viewed this for at least probably 12 minutes, at least, doing these examples. And that's what I'm going to be grading you on from now on, so make sure you're viewing these videos through. Okay. Okay, so I see compounded daily, so this is going to be a compound interest formula. So my balance, what's our ending balance, because we need to define as B, is going to be my principal times 1 plus my rate over the number of times per year. It's compounded times number of times per year times the number of years. Alright, so in this case, I'm trying to find balance. My principal is what Maria's principal is what she started out at, $1,650. substitute that in. The rate is 3%, which has a decimal 0.03. Number of times per year, compounded daily, so that's 365 times a year. It's 365 days in a year, not including leap year. N, again, number of times a year, so that's 365. And then T is time in years that this is going to be compounded, and it says 3 years, so that's my T, so times 3. Okay, when you put this in your calculator, make sure you watch parentheses. If you're using one of my calculators, you can enter this exactly how it looks. If you're using maybe a 4-function calculator or a scientific calculator or the calculator on this computer, you've really got to watch your parentheses. Maybe you do these in steps. 365 times 3, carry that as an exponent. Take 1 plus, maybe this division first, add 1 to it, then raise it to this power, then multiply it by 1650. Okay? Follow your order of operations and how you enter it. Once you enter it, you should get $1,805.38. So that's how much money is in the account after 3 years with this rate and this amount of principal. Okay? So simply just plugging in the numbers and doing the math. Okay, we have one final example here. I want you to read through it and try this. Pause the video. Make it an effort to pause the video and try this on your own. That's how you're going to master these skills. Alright, so I'm going to use, see it's compounded daily, so I'm going to use the compound interest formula. She's depositing $8,000, that's my principal, and 1-year CD at 3.2 interest rate. So 3.2 is my rate, and it's for 1 year, so my time is going to be 1 year. So, what is the balance? Remember, CD is where you put in money, and you can't take out money or add money to it until it's expired. So this expires or matures after 1 year. So, compound interest, balance equals principal, 8,000, parentheses 1 plus the rate, which is 0.032 over the number of times per year that this is compounded, which says it is compounded compounded daily, so 365 raised to the n again, number of times 365 times the number of years t, which in this case was only 1 year. And when you compute this out, you should get you should get a new balance of $8,260.13. Now that's how what her new balance is. But it doesn't want to know what her new balance is. What is her annual percent yield? So APY, annual percent yield, so how much she made in that year, is how much she started with. You should definitely write this in your notes. Minus, oops, my mistake. You can do it that way, but let's do it the easier way. How much she has in the account now, in the CD in this case, minus how much she started with. Okay, so her APY, annual percentage yield, her interest, let's do it this way to make it easier for you guys. Her interest, so her interest is going to be how much she has minus how much she started with. So her interest is $260.13. She made $260.13 on top of what she put in there. Okay, this is a little different than the simple interest because we aren't just computing interest with this formula. We're computing the balance after a certain amount of years, so how much is included with the interest and the amount they started with. Okay. Now her APR, that's her interest percentage, annual percentage yield. So to find that, you're going to use, and this is I equals PRT, okay? And her interest was $260.13. Her principal was $8,000. Her rate is what you're trying to find, and her time in years was 1. Okay? When you do this math to solve for R, you get R is approximately 0.0325, or that is 3.25%. So that's her annual percent yield. Okay, so there's a lot going on in this one. So make sure that you understand everything that's going on. So this interest was, just to fill in these formulas, this is the balance minus the principal. Okay, so we found the balance here. We subtracted what she started with. This is the interest she earned, and we want to know what is that as a percent. What rate gives the yield is that much. So I can put it in this formula to find R, the rate. So our annual percentage yield is 3.25. Okay. All right, so you're ready for the next homework assignment. Again, as always, make sure you do it in Brain Honey, all the work, unless there's a graph. And try it on your own first before you ask any questions. So you should have taken about 20 minutes for this video. Good luck.